In several regions across Europe and beyond, wild boar populations have significantly exceeded ecological carrying capacity. This overpopulation has led to widespread habitat degradation, crop damage, and direct threats to both native flora and human settlements. Their foraging behavior disrupts soil structure, exposes young tree roots, accelerates erosion, and causes extensive agricultural losses. In Hungary's winter woodlands, a hunting initiative was carried out as part of a broader ecological management strategy, not as a recreational pursuit, but as a necessary response to environmental imbalance. A skilled hunting team assembled at dawn, moving quickly into position. Moments later, a large wild boar emerged from the underbrush at high speed. A rapid, coordinated response from the team resulted in a clean and immediate stop to the animal's movement. Elsewhere, gunfire signaled additional engagements as hunters carefully executed their roles in reducing pressure on the ecosystem. Each shot served not just to protect crops or livestock, but to restore equilibrium in an environment increasingly destabilized by unchecked population growth. Accompanied by trained hunting dogs, the team tracked movements through the forest. Barking indicated the presence of another target. One of the intercept points was soon confirmed. As expected, a boar approached at high speed. A precise shot ended its path, ensuring no further damage would be caused. Rain began to fall, and the team took cover, patiently waiting for the next opportunity. At twilight, a group of wild boars emerged, sprinting in formation. One of the hunters calmly waited, then fired. The lead boar fell, while the rest disappeared into the woods. The team pressed on. Just minutes later, the dogs once again signaled activity in a nearby thicket. One wild boar broke cover and charged. In response, a series of controlled shots were fired. The animal, wounded and disoriented, staggered and eventually collapsed. The hounds were sent in to locate their final resting spot. The outcome was swift and effective. As the day progressed, the team continued into denser forest regions. A herd moved across their path, triggering a coordinated response. Although not all shots were successful, several wild boars were quickly neutralized. The atmosphere grew more focused and determined as the group sought to intercept the remainder before nightfall. At one point, a wild boar rushed from a nearby thicket. A shot was taken, but it failed to stop the animal. A quick radio call alerted a nearby teammate, who intercepted the target with a decisive and clean response, concluding the pursuit. In other rural areas, such as San Marcos, wild boars have increasingly been identified as a serious concern. Once considered the concern of professional wildlife management teams, the responsibility has now extended to local residents. Crops are frequently torn up just before harvest, fences are damaged, and livestock are harassed. As a result, community-driven efforts have emerged. Local teams, guided by trained handlers and accompanied by dogs, ventured into the woods at first light. For some, this was a new experience, requiring heightened caution and awareness. During one outing, a dog flushed a wild boar from the bushes. A shot was fired. Though the first attempt was not effective, the animal was soon exhausted by the chase and eventually brought down with a second attempt. This marked a meaningful contribution to the day's objective. Later, another team member signaled a nearby presence. A particularly large wild boar emerged, and within moments, it charged. The situation unfolded rapidly. A warning was shouted, and several shots were discharged. Fortunately, the noise discouraged the animal from continuing its approach. Though shaken, the team remained alert. In a subsequent encounter, the same team spotted another sizable boar. A strategic approach was taken, dividing into two positions on opposite flanks. As the animal crossed between them, gunfire erupted in quick succession. Despite the coordinated effort, the boar escaped down a slope at high speed. Undeterred, the team continued their search. Barking from the northwest indicated a new opportunity. Without delay, one member advanced toward the sound. A hidden boar was quickly located and stopped with a single, precise shot. These operations, though intense, reflect the necessity of population control and environmental stewardship. By working together, locals and wildlife professionals alike, communities are actively protecting both their agricultural resources and the delicate balance of the forest ecosystems they inhabit. By mid-afternoon, tracking dogs were still actively working, showing remarkable endurance and precision. These specially trained canines are essential in wildlife control operations, particularly in locating and exhausting wild boars by tracking their scent and pressuring them to move. Once the animals are located, experienced marksmen follow through with humane, decisive actions. One such instance involved the swift removal of a large wild boar, estimated to weigh over 100 kilograms. It had clearly been worn down by the pursuit and displayed little resistance. A well-placed, ethical shot ensured the situation was resolved efficiently and without prolonged suffering. Elsewhere, a separate team operated on a different parcel of land. After silently splitting up, they each took position in a planned ambush. One member initiated movement to lure out the target, which responded by revealing itself in the underbrush. A single, timely shot ended the chase. These calculated tactics emphasize not only skill but the importance of understanding animal behavior and terrain. In a unique twist to conventional wildlife control efforts, motorbikes were used to increase mobility during operations. Combining high-speed chases with real-time coordination, these mobile teams could intercept wild boars more effectively across large tracts of farmland. One operation led to the successful interception of a large boar in a cornfield, tracked carefully by dogs. Based on the anticipated movement, a rider positioned strategically and responded with a well-timed shot. Another rider engaged in a pursuit across an open field. Though the initial attempt was unsuccessful, the situation was quickly brought under control after repositioning. The boar was intercepted and humanely neutralized. In yet another instance, a close pursuit led to a face-to-face encounter with a charging boar, resolved swiftly with careful aim and immediate action. These efforts continued throughout the day. A short time later, another wild boar appeared and was brought down with a rapid, controlled response. The use of motorcycles provided critical agility, allowing teams to adapt quickly and cover difficult terrain. As the team made their way back to regroup, a disturbance in the underbrush signaled the presence of stragglers. Several wild boars, likely startled by earlier movements, were spotted attempting to flee through a narrow path lined with dense vegetation. In a matter of seconds, the team adjusted their formation, moving swiftly but silently to intercept. A final confrontation unfolded in near silence, where precise coordination and timing resulted in a clean and efficient resolution. The animals were swiftly neutralized, ensuring no prolonged distress and minimal disruption to the environment. Elsewhere, a different scenario had quietly escalated. A single boar, previously missed in the earlier attempt, had managed to break through the perimeter and vanish into deeper cover. However, signs left in the soil, fresh tracks, and disturbed leaves gave away its direction. One tracker, with years of experience etched into every movement, followed the trail patiently. The animal was eventually located near a ravine, partially concealed by rocks and shadows. With a series of calm, measured shots, the situation was brought under control. The quiet form of the animal remained as a solemn reminder of a successful and necessary intervention. The night before the operation began had been unusually still, the kind of quiet that made every sound carry further than expected. Members of the wildlife management team had gathered near the forest's edge, surrounding a small, controlled fire. They reviewed recent reports, instances of wild boars trampling crops, breaking fences, and venturing closer to populated areas. Farmers were growing increasingly anxious. These weren't isolated encounters anymore. The behavior of the boars had become more aggressive, more erratic. After lengthy deliberation, a decision was made. A focused and humane intervention would be carried out at dawn. As first light painted the sky with faint gold, the team split into small units, each heading to designated observation points. One particular ambush spot was chosen along the border, where cultivated farmland met dense woodland, a favored zone for boars seeking food. Camouflaged and completely still, the team watched as nature stirred. Time passed slowly, until, as predicted, a large male boar cautiously stepped into view, sniffing the earth. For nearly half an hour, the team held their breath, blending into the background, ensuring no sound or sudden movement betrayed their presence. When the opportunity finally presented itself, a single, clean shot echoed softly through the trees, concluding the encounter swiftly and humanely. Later that morning, the mission moved deeper into the forest. In a sudden burst of movement, a group of wild boars emerged from a concealed trail, scattering in multiple directions. It was a challenging moment, the terrain uneven, the undergrowth thick, and visibility low. Several shots were fired in response, but the chaos of movement and difficult angles meant not all attempts were successful. Rather than pressing the chase, the team made the deliberate choice to disengage. Their goal was always to restore balance, not to escalate stress among the animals or risk uncontrolled outcomes. As operations continued, vigilance remained constant. In the early afternoon, a set of paw prints and subtle movements in the brush caught the attention of the team's tracking dogs. Their alert behavior guided the group to a narrow trail where fresh boar activity had been noted. These corridors, flanked by thick, unpredictable foliage, are known to be high-risk zones. Wild boars can burst out from either side with little warning. Moving with measured caution, the team advanced. And once again, professionalism prevailed. A quick, clean sighting ended with another humane result. The path was secured, and the team pressed onward. What began as a response to increased reports had now become a case study in disciplined fieldwork blending patience, technology, and traditional tracking skills. Every member played a vital role, and every decision was weighed carefully, with respect for both human safety and animal welfare. Though the campaign demanded stamina and split-second judgment, it stood as a model for how wildlife management, when done with care and precision, could serve both ecological balance and community protection.